This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, thanks for joining me today. This is Mark Schellinger, Director of the National SAM Innovation Project, and we're looking at TimeTrack, but you already know that, don't you? We're looking at one data set for an individual teacher, and it shows the time the principal spent with this teacher during the 2017-2018 school year. Now, I got here by actually going to the dashboard first on the far left, clicking and then picking individual teachers. I then went to the options menu and I picked the 2017 school year. I did that because I wanted to see in a complete school year for what we're going to do in just a moment. Of course, you also have the ability to click the link right underneath the chart title, Instructional Time Spent with Alice, and you will then see that you could immediately go to different views in terms of time range pretty quickly. It's a quick link. But what I wanted to show you today was how you can begin looking at groups of descriptors and compare them with another group of descriptors. Specifically, I want to look at the 4 descriptors in a group that deal with seeing instruction and compare them with the 3 descriptors that deal with giving feedback. When I look at the overall chart, I can see each descriptor and I can see how much time the principal has spent with the teacher in each of these areas. So if I look at the first bar, I can see this principal spent 30 hours in a group meeting, in this case, decision-making groups and meetings like a PLC. If I double click that bar, it's going to show me when he did this, so I can see he worked with PLCs throughout the school year. And that's helpful to know. But how do I look at the feedback time, the 3 different kinds of feedback, and compare it with the observation time, the 4 different kinds, and then also see the sequence of when things occurred? Well, you can actually do that in TimeTrack. There are a couple of ways. I'm going to show you the first step and then where you can then see the sequence as well. First step is look at this pie graph. This pie graph is comparing the 4 kinds of seeing instruction in dark blue with the 3 kinds of feedback or talking about instruction in the lighter blue color. This is done to give you kind of a ratio, but if I want to see the frequency of that contact in terms of when the observations occurred and when the feedback occurred, I go up to the very top of the chart. See where it says total time, 53 hours and 31 minutes? Right below it, I see 3 links: feedback, observation, and then the frequency of the 2. If I click the frequency of the 2, it now shows me the times each month I spent in feedback, which is the lighter color, and in different kinds of observation, which is the darker color. So I can see in August I had some time with feedback with this particular teacher. In September, I had both feedback and observation. October, feedback and observation. November, just observation. Same for December. If I want to be able to see day to day so I can see a sequence, any month where I'm seeing both feedback and observation, I can just click on that month. So I'll go ahead and click on this bar. And now it's showing me for the month of October in the dark color, the time I went into the classroom and actually watched teaching occur. And in the lighter color, time I actually talked with the teacher about their work. So if you're the teacher, the principal came in on September 6th and watched me teach. Then again on September 19th, quite a few school days, 7 or 8 days later, and there hadn't been any feedback between those times. The first time there was feedback was when the principal came in and watched the teacher teach again on the 21st of September, and then I see the first feedback, 10 minutes, on September 21st. Then I see feedback occurred again on the 27th of September and again on the 29th of September. In order to move forward to see the month of October, I would actually click back one screen and then click on the month of October. Now I can see that there was more observation on the 3rd of October, feedback on the 13th, more observation on the 16th, feedback on the 25th, and then on the 30th there was additional observation. Now, this data doesn't say whether the principal is doing a good or bad job in the sequence of observation and feedback, but it raises some questions that a SAM team might consider. I might look at my overall time of feedback and observation and be really pleased because look how it's spread out nice and evenly throughout the school year. Lots of feedback. There's only a couple of months where there's no feedback at all. But then I want to look with more detail. So I'm going to start looking at how that time breaks out. Is it a good idea to have an observation on October 3rd, but it's 10 days later when I have my first feedback? Time track doesn't answer that question. It just raises the question to get the principal and the SAM to think that through. Is it logical? Is there enough feedback? The principal may have very good reasons for not having a feedback session until October 13th, but you're going to want to stop and think about that. This data, it never tells you what to do, but it does make you stop and think about what you are doing and whether it's logical if it's taking you in the right direction. So when I look at a data chart like this one with the teacher Alice for the last school year, 2017-2018, I'm seeing the total amount of time the principal spent with the teacher, 53 hours. It's broken out into the instructional descriptors. That's valuable and it's helpful because you can see the work the principal is doing. But time track is sort of like an onion. You can keep peeling back layers to see more underneath. I can click on any bar and I can quickly see what the principal did in that one descriptor. I can click again on a month and it will show me when in the month the principal did that. That's helpful. But I can also begin looking at groups of descriptors like my feedback and comparing them to my observation. When I see this pie graph, I see the amount of time the principal spent in the 4 kinds of observation compared to the 3 kinds of feedback. I can come up to the top, and if I click frequency, it's going to show me when those occurred month to month. If I click on a bar where there's both observation and feedback, it will show me the sequence of when they occurred. Those can be really helpful when the principal is working with a classroom teacher to improve his or her performance. I also at the top underneath where it shows the total amount of time spent, click just on feedback and it will show me how much of each kind of feedback the principal has given, how it compares. So I can see this principal's given far more non-directive feedback than directive feedback, and celebratory feedback makes the smallest amount of time. I can also look at how observation works for this principal. For this working with this particular teacher. In this case, the principal worked in 2 kinds of observation. Work with students where the principal went into the classroom and watched the teacher teach while he worked with a group of kids, and walk through where the principal walked into the room and spent short amount of time watching the teacher teach. And I can go back to combined and then see the comparison between the 2. So what we're seeing here is how you can begin using your time track data to be seeing even more information about how these different kinds of work interact. We know that observing teaching is important and having conversation about it is even more important. When that occurs is really critical because you need to see some kind of logic between when the principal saw the teacher and when feedback was given. Hey, thanks for joining me. I hope you have a great school day. Take care.